Hello, I'm today's presenter, Jiyoung Yin. I'll be presenting about dialogic reading approach. The reason why I explore dialogic reading is I've been reading to young learners for many years, and I want to know more about various reading instructions. And table of contents that will be covered in my presentation. 1. Principles of dialogic reading, and 2. Techniques and strategies. 3. How I can apply this approach to my teaching. What is dialogic reading? Dialogic reading is the process of having a dialogue with students around the text they are reading. This dialogue involves asking questions to help children explore the text at a deeper level. In other words, dialogic reading is a form of guided and scaffolded reading, where the focus is on interpretive and critical comprehension more than on accuracy and fluency. And dialogic book reading was firstly developed by Whitehurst, and he and his colleague found that dialogic book reading is formally defined as a reading situation. So in traditional reading situation, child just passively listen and then adult reads to them. But in this theory, child and adult switch roles so that the child learns to become the storyteller with the assistance of the adult who functions as an active listener and questioner. So the adult role is to help the child become the teller of the story. And this is all done to the premise that children learn most from books when they are actively involved. The main assertion, the socio-cultural theory is behind dialogic reading approach. So, and then this SCT theory was developed by Vygotsky, is that the cognitive development of children is advanced through social interaction with other people, particularly those who are more skilled. In other words, Vygotsky believed that social learning comes before cognitive development, and that children construct knowledge actively. So there are two important components of his theory that supports dialogic reading. One is more knowledgeable other. According to Vygotsky's theory of cognitive development, and children learn through social interaction that include collaborative and cooperative dialogue with someone who is more skilled. So in this context, who can be a teacher, and Vygotsky called these people with higher skill level the more knowledgeable other. And another component is scaffolding, refers to the temporary support given to a child by a more knowledgeable other, by a teacher, that enables the child to perform a task until such time that the child can perform this task independently. So these are the main principles of dialogic reading. So why is dialogic reading useful? It can be a valuable tool for developing literacy skills by modeling how good readers think, and it teaches learners to become better readers, and it can help improve skills such as print awareness, oral language, and comprehension. So dialogic reading is interactive, and therefore it can be used for students of all ages, of all levels, and it is also effective with both fiction and non-fiction text. And it is obviously student-centered. And the goal of this instruction is to let the children become storyteller, and the teacher reads less over time. They read the same book and listen to what child talks about the text and follow what is being shared by the child. And there is a certain sequence that the this dialogic reading approach follow, that is peer sequence. PEER sequence. Peer sequence is a short conversation between the child and the teacher, and this approach to sharing a book is used after you have read a book through at least once, and it could be used while reading and on almost every page of the book. And there are 5 types of prompts to use to begin the peer sequence. That is crowd prompts, CROWD, which will be covered in next few slides, and principle and the benefits of using dialogic reading. It can help a student use more words and speak in longer sentences, and also a student who got a dialogic reading instruction scored higher on vocabulary tests and developed grammar and listening comprehension, and also they demonstrated overall improvement in expressive language skills. And this is how students are assessed, and you can see the chart, and then which a teacher can make use of. And a teacher use a checklist like this and then mark out each child's participation. And children, they will be assessed on whether or not they can make predictions and ask questions and build upon and make connections to their prior learning. So there will be a column on the assessment sheet titled Questions Asked, which will show participation by the use of tally mark each time a particular child asks a question during the lesson. And there's another column titled Making Prediction, which will similarly be marked with a tally only if the child makes prediction for what will happen or happen next. And the last, Making Connection, it is marked whenever the child will relate something in the story of a lesson to something they know, they have seen, or they have already done. Except for the first reading of book to children, peer sequence should occur on nearly every page. Sometimes you can read the written words on the page and then prompt the child to say something. For many books, you should do less and less reading of the written books in the book each time you read it, and leave more to the children. So P refers to prompt the child to say something about the book, and E stands for evaluate the child response and expands the child response by rephrasing and adding more information to it. And R and repeats the prompt to make sure the child has learned something from the expansion. So prompt P, and this is how you can adapt and ask a simple question to start the conversation, and try to avoid using questions that can be answered with yes or no. And you can see the book, which is very famous, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. So in this page, you give the children the opportunity to engage in conversation. For example, you ask a question like, what is this? What is this? And what color is it? And such simple questions. And E, evaluate the child response, how you can adapt. Think about the child response and make necessary corrections or praise your children. So for example, you're right, caterpillar, or it looks like a worm, but it's actually a caterpillar. And then you expand by rephrasing what they say and follow answers with more questions. For example, what color is the caterpillar, and where did we see a caterpillar? And then repeat the prompt to make sure, and let the children know the answer is correct by repeating it back, and give the children the opportunity to practice new vocabulary. For example, yes, it's a green caterpillar. The green caterpillar wiggles. Can you say wiggles with me? And part 2, how to prompt children. So it uses crowd prompt strategies. So C stands for completion prompt. You leave a blank at the end of a sentence and get the child to fit it in. And these are typically used in books with rhyme or books with repetitive phrases. For example, this like pop out of the egg came a very hungry what? And like this. And this prompt is used to increase listening comprehension and let the children to use the language. And R is for record prompt. And these are questions about what happened in a book a child has already read. Record prompts help children in understanding story plot and in describing sequences of events. So for example, how many apples did the caterpillar eat? So it can be a little hard to remember and to recall, but it's really helpful and help them remember details of the story and help engage children in the story. And always for open-ended prompt, and this prompt focus on the pictures in books. They work best for books that have rich and detailed illustrations. And open-ended prompts help children increase their expressive fluency and attend to like detail. And a question that might be asked, why does the caterpillar have a stomach ache? So you can, while looking at a page and in the book and pointing to the caterpillar, you can ask this question. And WH prompt, and this prompt usually begin with what, where, when, why, and how questions. So WH questions teach children new vocabulary. What is this called? While pointing to an object in the book, you might ask like this. And lastly, D for distancing prompt. This asks children to relate the pictures of words in the book they're reading to their experiences outside the book. Distancing prompts help children from a bridge between books and the real world, as well as helping with verbal fluency, conversational abilities, and narrative skills. So for example, you might say, remember the caterpillar got a stomachache. Have you ever gotten a stomachache? And what happened? How did you feel? And now, how I would use the dialogic reading approach. This is one of my favorite picture book. That so like before reading, so I read aloud the title and butterfly. Show the cover to the children and ask simple questions to start a conversation. And in prompting, before reading, I would use WH prompt. What is it? Pointing to the butterfly. And children might answer butterfly and evaluate their response. Yes, that's right. You're correct. And after I'm going to expand their response, it's a beautiful butterfly. A butterfly flaps its wings to fly, stretching out arms and pretending to fly like a butterfly. And can you say flaps with me? Flaps. And repeat the prompt. It's a beautiful butterfly. A butterfly flaps its wings to fly. And during reading, and talk about details of the picture on every page of the book. The reason why I like this book, and it has really colorful colorful illustrations that so that I can ask various prompt questions. So in this piece, I will use completion prompt, but she did find the pink and leave a space for children to complete the sentence, and children will say earthworm and evaluate children's response. Good job, you're right. And expand their response. It's a pink earthworm wiggling along the ground. Repeat after me. And a pink earthworm wiggling along the ground. And students will be repeating after the teacher. And this is the end of my presentation, and thanks for listening.